Good afternoon. My name is Cole. I'm from the Kingdom of the Rising Winds, Grand Duchy of Ebonmarch, and today I'm here to talk about Garb 101. So, first of all, let me go ahead and show off what I'm wearing today. I'm wearing one of my standard garbs I wear in the winter. Um, just a little tour of what I have on right now. This is generally what people wear. Some people like to wear for standard Amtgard attire. So let's go over what garb is, the do's and don'ts, and all kinds of stuff like that for garb. Like all my 101 classes, I'm not going to be going into super great detail about this whole subject. Just going to kind of hit on just the basic things for new people to understand what to do in the game and what to wear. So, first things up, what is garb? Garb is just standard clothing you wear for Amtgard. So that is everything from the medieval period. So some people wear historically accurate medieval type of clothing, all the way to what they call sword and sorcery, or just fantasy. Your Tolkien-esque fantasy type of clothing also. Or a lot of people take inspiration from video games, stuff like that. Just that general medieval era. That does not necessarily mean medieval Europe. There's a lot of people who like to wear all kinds of clothing, garb, armor, all kinds of stuff like that from other places of the world too. We'll go over different clothing and customizing things and all that kind of stuff a little bit later. So, next question some people may have, what happens if you don't have garb? So, in Amtgard, they have what is called a minimum requirement for garb. So, in my opinion, the minimum requirement for garb, that's going to be hard today, is at least your tunic. So that would be your top here. So this is just one piece. Think of it like just think of like a long T-shirt. Pants. So some people like to have more standard pants like this. Like if my pants are a lot wider, my leg actually stops about right here. So that can be anything from rust pants to fisherman tie pants, wrap pants, stuff like that. Wrap pants you see a lot of in Amtgard too. A lot of rust pants also. So pants, tunic, and in my opinion, one or two accessories. That could usually be like what I'm wearing right now. I have my page belt, which is looking a little brown more than yellow, honestly. And then I can normally keep a couple of flags. So like my company flag, my personal flag, and just a Louisville Cardinal flag that I like to keep on me. I keep a bag that's just for carrying equipment, spell balls, anything like that. Comes in handy for a lot of things. Today I'm wearing a surcoat, so that is this checkered thing on me here. Can be considered another type of accessory you can put on. I like to throw this over top of my company colors. This is Sol Invictus company. I like to throw it over top of that sometimes, just for added accessories. So we're gonna go over layering and stuff like that later. So minimum requirements would be tunic, pants, maybe one or two accessories, and then your class sash. So class sash from right to left goes over. So we're gonna go over that in a moment. So, what if you don't have all of this garb? What should you do? So first of all, if you don't have all this garb, you have to play peasant. I'll have a video on what the peasant class is later. Essentially, you don't really get that much, but like I said, I'll have a class on that later. You have to play peasant. What is one way to actually get garb if you don't have garb? I always recommend, with a lot of this stuff, is to talk to the people in your park. Do not be afraid to go out to your local Amtgard park with just jeans and a t-shirt. First time I ever played, I was walking the dog through a park one day, and I saw people swinging foam swords, and I thought that was cool, and hopped on in. You know, a let me go ahead and play a peasant. And then they told me about where I can get garb. They gave me a couple pieces. It showed me YouTube sites and all kinds of stuff like that for me to actually make my own. So first thing I always say, don't be afraid to go up to the park and just ask people. A lot of people have multiple sets of garb. A lot of people are willing to give out garb. A lot of people are willing just to make garb just so they can have practice at making garb for new people. So one, always ask people. Two, in some kingdoms, I think in my kingdom, for example, there's a garb exchange program. It's a program at events where they basically have a tent with a bunch of people who have all sets of old garb they don't want anymore. People who left the game and have a bunch of garb. A lot of people have been playing. A lot of people who played the game for years and years. They may have 5, 6, 7, 8 different outfits, stuff that doesn't fit them anymore, all kinds of stuff like that. We have a garb exchange program where they have a tent set up, and you can either donate a bunch of garb for new people, and new people can walk up and grab new garb, or you can exchange out. Say, I don't fit this anymore, and I want to get something else. It's all kinds of stuff like that. Say, me personally, I've changed my personal colors about 3 different times. I used to have maroon and black, and then found out that was a different company, and then now I go with black and white checkered. That's what I personally like. So all my old garb, that was maroon and black, and I think I had silver and gold at some point, stuff like that. Hey, I just donated to other people. So garb exchange program, stuff like that, it's always a great resource if you don't have any garb. Another way to get garb, you can just go ahead and buy it online. There are many different types of LARPing out there. So it isn't just Amtgard. There's Belagard, there is Dagahar, Dagahir. There's all different types of LARPing out there. And there's all kinds of sellers that will sell you garb. I believe Warlord Sports sells garb also. So there's all kinds of places that sell garb and medieval period clothes. Halloween just passed. I know that there's some people who just hop into the game and they go to a Halloween store after the discount and they buy up all that stuff. There's all kinds of stuff you can do like that. It does not necessarily have to be expensive or anything. And the other alternative is make your own. Like I was saying a second ago, there are a lot of resources on YouTube, a lot of channels on YouTube that have tutorials and details and all that stuff about how to make garb. Just look up on YouTube, look up on websites. The first tunic I ever made was a talbert, like the little pullover. I looked up on YouTube how to make a talbert. I made it out of a sheet, and then the next day I went to park and I had something to wear at least. So you can always make your own. You can always, like I said before, ask people. Like I said, there's a ton of people who are willing to make garb, and there's also a ton of people who are willing to teach new people. Not new people, anybody. Heck, I mean, I've talked to people, I've been playing the game for about 6 years now, about how to make new things. So, talk to people. It's a great resource of how to make garb. So, let's see here. We went over minimum requirements. So, minimum requirements: tunic, pants, at least 1 or 2 accessories is always a good idea. So, other ideas for accessories. Some people like to wear, like say, a wizard hat or hats, boots. I've been seeing a lot of people with like knee-high boots, stuff like that, gloves, greaves, all kinds of stuff like that. We're going to go over the difference between armor and garb in a moment. Armor is not garb, so we're going to go over that in a moment here. But yeah, there's a bunch of different accessories. Flags. So say you want to dress as a samurai. They have those really big flags off their back, stuff like that. There's all kinds of accessories. The great thing about Amtgard is the variety of the things that you can do in this game, the customization of everything you want to do, and just the freedom of your uniform for the sport. That's the great thing about this. Whatever colors you want to wear, I prefer to pitch kind of stick to my company colors, and then I prefer to stick to my company colors and my personal colors. Some people don't have personal colors. People like to wear whatever they want. People like to stick a little more period accurate. Some people like to stick a little more fantasy. I know a lot of people that base their garb off of video game characters. There have been a ton of Assassin's Creed people. In my other videos, I've had hospital garb, but instead of a cross, it has that big star from Kill la Kill on it. So there's a lot of customization of things you can do in this game, and that's one of the great things about Amtgard in general. So, talk about minimum requirements. Let's talk about what happens when you exceed those requirements and want to go above and beyond. So in this game, the great thing about Amtgard is it rewards you for going above and beyond just your standard, like what I'm wearing right now. If you go above and beyond, you get what is called looked apart. So in order to get looked apart, you will have your standard garb and class-specific garb. So what I mean by that is, if you look in the book, under each class, it has examples of looked apart. So for example, Assassin, you could look apart as Ezio from Assassin's Creed. You could look apart as Naruto. You could look apart as whatever your commanding reeve at your park would consider looked apart for that class that you are playing. You can get an extra bonus for that class. For example, as a warrior, if you are in full night garb and you're acting the part and you're contributing to your park and fully acting and role playing as that part, you can get an extra insult, which is one of the spells you can get for warrior. So it's very useful. Also, it's not just useful for you yourself, it's useful to the game and useful to Amtgard as a whole. I'm sure a lot of veterans can attest to, or even new people can attest to, driving through the park one day, looking over at the Amtgard group, and then you see 7 people wearing jeans and a t-shirt swinging a sword, swinging a foam bat. You can look at that and be like, I don't know about that. But, say, you drive by that same park, you see 10 people all completely dressed in medieval armor, medieval garb, and some added accessories. And you have people that are talking the part, role-playing the part, reacting the part. It really makes your park as a whole look a lot better, in my opinion. And it doesn't just help your park, because there are other people that come by and say, oh, you know what? That looks like a real organization of people that's going on here, that actually have stuff going on, and not just a group of random people swinging what could be unsafe bats or something like that. No, it makes your actual park look more organized and more serious. And it makes the actual game of Amtgard look a lot more serious and a lot more as an actual combat sport that we are. So keep that in mind about looking apart. So not just you get a bonus, your park as a whole gets a proverbial bonus, you can say. So looking apart would be normal garb, and then on top of that, a class garb. For example, in some other videos, I've had my hospital garb. It is a horseman tunic, white cross on it, and either wrap pants or the pants like I'm wearing today. That is kind of almost a period, this a little more period of a outfit. Granted, not the embroidery on the front, but if it had a big white cross or a red cross on it, that'd be a little more period. But that is, that would look the part for playing a healer. Add on a couple more accessories, that'd be even better. So you have your standard garb. You have people who want to go above and beyond for look the part. And then you have Say you want to get even fancier. Say you are a person that is a non-combatant. You know, don't want to go out there and fight. Why would you want to really put on all this stuff and stuff like that? Or say you want to get real fancy. There's a spot for that too. So every Amtgard group has court. You have your coronations, all stuff like that. So a lot of people have court-specific garb. I'm not going to go ahead and change into all of that because there's a bunch of layers and all this other stuff for mine. But a lot of people have court-specific garb, real fancy garb that is not meant for rolling around in mud and all this other stuff like that. It's specifically for court, and that's great. It also makes your court, like I was saying before, with your park looking a little more serious and a little more organized as a group. It makes your court look a little more serious and organized as a group too. There's a lot of people who are getting an award for their mastery or their knighting, stuff like that. Of course you want to look good in those type of pictures, because these are awards that people are going to cherish for the rest of their life. So, court guard, that's also a great thing a lot of people like to have. So, let's go over the garb rules. So everything in the game, of course, have rules to it. So let's go over the rules for wearing garb. So, if you're wearing garb, I like to have myself a little flowy and long, as you can see here. So if you're wearing garb, any weapon that strikes just the garb, so just the garb itself, does not count as a hit. So, for example, someone's taking a swing, they hit just my garb here, that does not count as a hit to my arm or any other thing. If it is just down to here. This happens a lot, especially with me with my pants here, because my actual leg, if you want to pull it all the way out, my actual leg is about here. So, if someone strikes this, that would be considered garb. In the middle of combat, you would just say garb and move on from there. So, yes, a lot of people have cloaks or surcoats and all kinds of stuff like that. We have to keep in mind that you cannot use that rule as a shield. It's a great thing for Reeves to pay attention to on the field. It's a great thing for you, a person who should have honor while in the middle of combat, needs to pay attention to. So, you have a big cloak on, which I don't have a cloak, but say you have a big cloak on and everything else, you cannot pull out your cloak and throw it up like this or something along those lines, and then be like, oh, nope, you can't hit me because you keep hitting my garb. Garb, 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 garb. No, it cannot. Garb cannot be used as a shield, especially cloaks, anything along those manners, cannot be used as a shield. So, keeping that in mind, spell balls. If a spell ball is non-engulfing and it hits a location, say you have your cloak up and you have it out in front of you, which, one, do not do. Say you have the cloak out in front of you here. If a spell ball hits it, that spell ball goes through that location and hits on the other side as if that cloak was not there. That would be for any standard spell ball. So, that's one thing that Reeves needs to pay attention to, and you as a person with honor needs to pay attention to. One, don't hold up garb like that. So, for example, with like my outfit here, my actual crotch is about here. My actual tunic goes to about here. So, if something is hitting through here, I generally count that as a strike to my torso. Unless that thing is going this direction and hits to my leg, something like that, and yes, I count it as leg. But, yeah, you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. If a spell ball gets caught up there, let's just say it's torso. It makes it easier for you and other combatants that are fighting you. Engulfing. So, talking about engulfing spell balls. So, an engulfing spell ball, which I have a video on spell balls. So, an engulfing spell ball, even if the tassel of that spell ball hits any part of you, including your garb, that spell ball takes effect. So, for example, a spell ball, say my fist spell ball, is coming in, and it hits just my garb here. That would still count. Say it's an entangle ball. That would still count as me being stopped. So, or say my legs here, just for example. This happens a lot, especially with these type of pants I have. I'm running, and at some point, spell ball catches somewhere in here. Engulfing especially. That's it. I'm stopped whatever that spell ball is doing to me. I'm wearing spell strip and sash today to go over this other point. Garb cannot cover spell strips, enchantment strips, I should say, or sashes. So your sash delineates what class that you're playing, and your sashes go from right to your left, and it must go over top of whatever garb you are wearing. If I had this under my surcoat, and someone comes running up from behind me, and they don't know what I have, they don't know what class I am. Knowing split second what class you are fighting against is very, very, very important. And also spell strips, enchantment strips. Enchantment strips cannot be covered by your garb. Sure, I can put this enchantment strip on my belt. You can still see it there. I can put it on my sash. You can still see it there. I usually just wrap them around my arm because I got rubber bands or I got slap bracelets for them. Just keep it there. They cannot be under your garb or anything. Same thing for visibility and fairness of the game. You cannot have it under other stuff, so people know what they're up against, essentially. So, a lot of people like to do this too. But yeah, this is perfectly fine for that. But as long as it is not hiding under something, say if that thing rolled under here, yeah, not okay then. If you got it into like that, not okay. But if it's actually out there visible, great. What else? Garb over armor. So, I personally, because my armor, I guess I'll show it one of these days, sooner or later, my armor is all white. So, I mean, other than like the lamellar arms, legs, parts of it, it's pretty much all white. So I like to throw the surcoat over top of it, over top of the torso of it. So, when it comes to armor and garb, usually we're going to go over dress and layers and stuff like that later. But when it comes to armor and garb, garb can be over top of armor, but your armor must be at least partially visible. And if it must be partially visible, and if someone requests what you are wearing, you must answer. So, for example, I have a big torso piece that goes over and all that, and then I throw this over top. If someone's running up from behind me, they're only going to see the torso. They're not going to see the surcoat that's over top of my torso. That person can request. That person, one, should start hitting if you're behind me. But two, that person is allowed to request, hey, what are you wearing? How many points is that? And so what? So on from there. But on the front of it, all this part is completely visible. So, partially visible. My arms on it, completely visible. Legs on it, completely visible. Stuff like that. So your armor must be visible. And if someone asks, you have to answer. Tell them truthfully and 100%. Usually, in my opinion, what I normally tell people is at the start of a battle, say if you're a local park, before the game starts, I normally tell everybody, especially if I have like a surcoat on top of my armor or something like that, I normally tell everybody, okay, I have 5 points here, 6 on my arm, 6 on my arm, leg, 5, whatever I have on, and usually show them where all that armor is at. I'll have another class on Armor 101 that will be coming up later. But yeah, I'll have a full set of all of that going on, and tell everybody what I have and what points I have. And so it makes it a lot easier and a lot clearer for everybody at part. Granted, you go to something like Keep on the Borderlands, there are 200, 300 people on the field, whatever. Yes, of course you can't do that. You can't go to everybody and tell them, this is what I'm wearing or whatever. But in the middle of combat, if you're looking at somebody and you're confused of what's going on here, if you look at somebody and you're confused about, okay, is that just really hard leather, or what kind of amalgamation is this? How many points is that? Feel free to ask someone. But yeah, that's a part of the armor stuff. We're just going over Garb right now. So, Garb is obstructing what's going on? Ask. Other part I have, the great thing about Amtgard, like I was saying before, is the fact that you can do almost whatever you want garb-wise. Of course, if it's offensive, anything like that, no, please don't wear that. If you're revealing too much, or if it's dangerous, anything like that, of course, do not wear that. Within reason, and of course that's why we have reeves and park officials and all kinds of stuff like that who can tell people what they're wearing is offensive or anything like that. So dressing in layers. So let's talk about dressing for the weather. In my personal opinion, in my bag, I have 2 sets of summer garb and 1 set of winter garb. So this I would consider my winter garb, because normally I have like a thermal or something like that under this, depending on the type of weather. Or I put a gambeson pants, gambeson jacket over top of this if it's cold. But always recommend people to have several sets of armor. Several sets of garb. So I like to have summer garb. So if it's super hot, of course, dress in layers. Dress what you need to wear. I have fisherman tie pants. They're about a little bit below my knee, and I have a linen tunic that is very, very breathable and doesn't have sleeves or anything on it. I normally wear that. And then, throw a couple accessories, whatever on it. That's great for summer. So I have a couple of things like that. I have, so I got that, and I got, heavier tunics, a little bit heavier like this. I have even heavier tunics than this for when it's cold. Pants wise, always recommend people to dress in layers. So if it is hot, I go out there in shorts and then my garb on top of that. Shorts and a t-shirt and my garb on top of that. If it is, cold, I will come out there in, jeans and then throw all the stuff over top of it. Or I have like thermals and leggings and stuff like that. Under all this, you can have long sleeves, stuff like that. Normally I like to keep all black, long sleeves, thermal, stuff like that to keep under this. If it's like cold. So always dress in layers, because the worst that can happen is you can just take off more layers. So always dress in layers. Always recommend having several sets of garb, because wardrobe malfunctions happen. I personally have made most of my garb. I did not make this. I believe it was Lady Armstrong that made this a couple years back. But yeah, so it's. I usually have a couple sets of outfits just in case, because the ones I've made, say it rips or something like that, or especially these pants. These pants have been through a ton of stuff. I normally keep a backup in case I need to change, in case whatever happens. So it's always good to have several sets, and also, my opinion, it's good to have several sets, because I wore this outfit on Saturday to one park, and I drove all the way out to another park on Sunday. And then, I need to wear something else because that one's dirty. So it's always good to have several sets, and especially when you're on larger camping events and stuff like that, like keeping on Borderlands, you're out there for 4 days and stuff like that. Please have several sets that are clean. Like last time I went to keep on a Borderland, didn't go to this year, I went last year. But yeah, for every day I was there for 2 days, 3 days. And for every day I had a different outfit. And I had it prepared to where if it gets super cold at night, okay, I can switch over to this day. I can put on some thermals. I can wear it. So it's always good to have several sets, especially for events and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that is everything I have for today on Garb 101. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and please put it in the comments or shoot me a message on Facebook. That is under Cole Lionheart. If you have any suggestions for any other videos, if I'm wrong about anything, please correct me. I've only been playing for 6 years. I get stuff wrong sometimes. So, if you have any questions like that, if you want to get in contact with me, anything like that, if you like this video and you want me to do more videos, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.